Hi, Mary.
Hi, Father.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I couldn't
Well.
find the link.
Oh, well. Did that email help?
Yes, it did.
Good. Okay, good. Well, hopefully it will help some others too. So, yes, we will take a look at the icon here. I'll show it to you. Right here. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Hopefully you're seeing the icon of the Nativity there, right? Yep. And we will be reading the Proto-Evangelion of St. James a little bit. Have you been there's um a class that Courgette's been holding. Have you seen that?
Um, about
Well, actually, they just covered the Proto-Evangelion of St. James.
yeah, it was
Oh.
about Mary.
Right.
Yes. Yes, I was at her class.
Oh, cool. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, so a lot of it's just based on that. So let's kind of hang around for just a second. Let's see if anyone else joins us here. But if not, we'll have a class. And then we'll post this on the web so that other people can see it.
Sounds great.
Well, and thank you for the idea. I thought it was a great idea. Now, if I do this, oops, that, can you still see the icon?
Yes.
Okay, good. Even if I do that, it says that my screen is being sharing is paused. Does that mean it goes away, or can you still see it?
I can still see it.
So it must just mean that it's not active, so to speak. If I would change anything, it would probably go away. Let's see if anyone else wants to join.
No, I can't see it.
Now you can't see it? How about
No.
now?
No, it's like up in the corner of my screen.
Oh,
Do I need to just click on that?
how's that?
Nope.
Hmm. Let me try it again.
Okay.
System. Nothing. Okay, I'm gonna stop the share. That made it go away, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's back.
Okay. Oops. That's not doing that. Did it go? Did it shrink again?
A little bit.
That's really weird. Yeah. So when I move away from it, it does go away. That's kind of obnoxious. But what are you gonna do? Is that Marilyn?
talk now. Hold on a second. I'm trying to start the video. There you go. Okay.
Oh, look, there you are. Hello.
My daughter, I'm at my daughter's house. She had to do it on her computer for me. Hi, Father.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, nice to see you.
You too. I'm trying to get her set up here.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your help.
All right, there. So you're gonna see. Here, I'm good. There. Yep. Yeah, here, go ahead. Okay, I'm good now.
Father Kev, it's nice to see you, sir.
Hey, how are you?
Good, I'm good.
Good.
How's things at home? Everything okay?
Everything's okay.
How you feel? You doing okay?
Thank God, yep, doing okay.
Look better than the last time I saw you.
Oh, well, that's good to know,
good
I
news.
guess. How did I look last time? Was that bad?
Yeah, a little, I think, well, I was too, but you looked like you had a little stress in your life last time I
No,
saw
that's not going away.
you.
All right, so we have the two of you, and we have Mary Menitis with us. And so why don't we go ahead and start? And if anyone else wants to join us, they're more than welcome to do so. Right now, you should be able to see on the screen, not just me, but also an icon of the birth of Mary. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So hopefully, if you do have issues with that, let me know. But I think we're going to be okay. All right. So I'm going to pray, and then we'll talk about the icon. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Illumine our hearts, O Lord Jesus Christ, our God, with the pure light of thy divine knowledge, and plant in us also the fear of thy blessed commandments, and trampling down all carnal desires, we may enter a spiritual manner of living, both thinking and doing such things well pleasing unto thee. For thou art the giver of all good things, O Christ our God, and the illumination of our souls and bodies unto thee we ascribe glory, together with thine originate Father, and thy holy life-giving Spirit, now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen. Okay, so part of the goal of this is to make it a little bit more interactive. So I want to be interrupted if you have questions. Okay, that's pretty important for me because I want to make sure that it makes sense. Okay, so what we're going to do for the next bunch of weeks is in this format, we're going to take a look at the different icons that sort of run the perimeter of our church. Okay. It was Mary's idea because we were looking at this icon together of All Saints because it's a really complex icon. There's a lot of stuff going on in there. So I thought it would be a great idea and an interesting format to try to talk about these icons and to, just give a little bit of a greater perspective on what we have going there. Okay. So that's the goal. And like I said, if you do have questions, let me know. If you're not getting through to me for whatever reason, don't hesitate to text me or something like that. Okay. All of these icons will be available online, and those icons that you're going to be downloading are actually our church's icons. So that's kind of cool. I actually took them and I scanned them into a computer, and then we'll put them online. So this is the one that sits there in the church. You can see it's got some kind of line running through it somewhere. But that's our church. So there you go.
So this icon painted in this fashion would have been done when? Written, I guess they say they're written.
Actually, if you look in the bottom corner, they say written, but that's kind of a cutesy term, and they're still painting. I mean, it's just there is a process that you're supposed to go through when you're doing iconography, and that's, I think, the bigger issue. When you do an icon, you're supposed to be fasting. You're supposed to have gone to confession, and you're in good standing with the church and so forth. And there is a prayer that you say before you do the icon and so forth. It's exactly the same thing you're supposed to do, by the way, when you make prosphora or anything else where you're making an offering to the church. Now, this icon was probably done in the middle of the 20th century.
Okay.
Its style is older than that, but the iconographer himself, like I said, if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, you can just barely see some Greek in there. So it's written by a Greek iconographer. I don't remember the year that this one was particularly done. There's some interesting aspects to it. The sky, for example, isn't gold, it's blue. It's like a deep, rich, almost black. And that's intentional. Now, the story goes that means that the iconographer is writing in a time of oppression or persecution.
Mhm.
But I don't think people are that sophisticated anymore. I think they look at that and say, "Ooh, I like the dark blue," and they use dark blue. So I don't think that particular thing stands anymore. Okay, so and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the icons according to the church year. Okay, and then every once in a while we'll intersperse something else in there if we get close to a holiday or something. We'll be able to do that. We're going to do, I think, in 3 weeks, we'll probably do icon of the presentation of the Mother God into the temple. And that feast is actually towards the end of November. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit there. I don't want to wait till then to do the discussion. So there we go. Mary, do you have any questions about anything so far? Uh-oh.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute.
That's okay.
So what is the words at the top? What does that say?
Okay, that is Greek, and it's a stylized form of Greek. I wish I could use, I don't know if I have that ability. Let me see something. Yes, I do. Okay, so I'm gonna, all right, so now I need to move this. Hold on a second, sorry. There we go. Okay, so if you look here, for example, okay, yeah, that was lovely. That's actually 2 words, okay? It's just that the first one, can you see when my mouse is moving up there? Or can you just
Yes.
see me? Okay,
Yes.
cool. All right, so if you, whoops, if you look here, right there, my gosh, what am I doing? Okay, that is just a definite article, so the, okay? And then this is the same word as the first book of the Bible, Genesis, okay? And then this is another definite article, but used in a different form, which basically mean of the. And then this is the Greek for Theotokos. Okay, so this literally is the birth of the Theotokos. Okay. Yeah, so that's Genesian, which again, it's the same word that we would use for like Genesis. Okay, so Genesis means the beginning or the birth. Okay, and then in Greek, even though this is the word the and this is the word the, because they're different words, this literally means just the, but this means of the,
Mhm.
okay, of the Theotokos.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is the birth of the Theotokos. All right. All right, so here's a quiz. Where's the Theotokos in this icon?
It's the baby.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
baby.
she's the baby. That's quite a crib she's got there, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what's that? Well, part of that is this really fancy crib that's just is supposed to indicate something that she's, special. But then you also have the way that she looks. She looks like an adult, doesn't she? She's not swaddled.
Mhm.
She looks like her adult form just as a little kid. That's actually kind of normal. Okay, for if you look at icons of other things like Palm Sunday, we'll discuss that in the future. But if you look at that, the little kids look super small, but they look like adults. Okay, and there are attendants. There are 3 attendants in the icon. Actually 4, I guess, if you include this. Can you still see my mouse, or no? Did it go away?
It's there.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so you see this person that I'm trying to circle right here. So that person is, I'm not sure who that is. We can take a look as we go and see if that is somebody that we recognize. That may be Joseph, to be honest with you, but I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to quote things out of context, because this is Anna, obviously the mother, and this is Joachim right here. Okay?
Oh, okay.
All right, so I'm going to read from my phone. Okay, so this is from the Proto Evangelion of St. James. Okay, And this kind of gives a background to the event. In the records of the 12 tribes of Israel was Joachim, a man rich exceedingly, and he brought his offerings double, saying, "It shall be of my superabundance to all the people, and there shall be the offering for my forgiveness to the Lord for a propitiation for me. For the great day of the Lord was at hand, and the sons of Israel were bringing their offerings. And there stood over against him Rubim, saying, It is not meet for you to bring your offerings, because you have not made seed in Israel." You haven't had a kid. I love those euphemisms. "And Joachim was exceedingly grieved, and went away to the registers of the 12 tribes of the people, saying, I shall see the registers of the 12 tribes of Israel, as to whether I alone have not made seed in Israel. And he searched and found that all the righteous had raised up children." Let's just skip this raised seed thing. "And he called his mind the patriarch Abraham, that in the last day God gave him a son, Isaac. And Joachim was exceedingly grieved, and did not come into the presence of his wife. But he retired to the desert, and there pitched his tent, and fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, saying in himself, I will not go down either for food or drink, until the Lord my God shall look upon me, and prayer shall be my food and drink." Okay, prayer shall be my food and drink. Does that sound familiar? I mean, when Jesus was in the wilderness, prayer was his food and drink too. Okay, so, all right, so that's chapter 1. Chapter 2. "And his wife Anna mourned in 2 mournings, and lamented in 2 lamentations, saying, I shall bewail my widowhood, I shall bewail my childlessness. And the great day of the Lord," "was at hand. And Judith, her maidservant, said, How long do you humiliate your soul? Behold, the great day of the Lord is at hand, and it is unlawful for you to mourn. But take this headband, which the woman that made it gave to me, for it is not proper that I should wear it, because I am a maidservant. And it had a royal appearance. Anna said, Depart from me, for I have not done such things, and the Lord has brought me very low. I fear that some wicked person is given to you, and you have come to make me a sharer in your sin. And Judith said, Why should I curse you, seeing that the Lord has shut your womb, so as not to give you fruit in Israel? And Anna was grieved exceedingly, and put off her garments of mourning, cleaned her head, and put on her wedding garments. And about the 9th hour went down to the garden to walk. And she saw a laurel, and sat under it, and prayed to the Lord, saying, God of our fathers, bless me, and hear my prayer, as he blessed the womb of Sarah, and gave her a son, Isaac. Okay, so you understand the account here, that there's meant to be a parallelism between what's going on with Abraham and Sarah on one side, and Joachim and Anna on the other. They're meant to be seen as like undergoing the same situation. And indeed, that's what happens, isn't it? That they both have children late in years. And again, I mean, there are a couple of things here. In addition to that, don't forget Zacharias and Elizabeth, the parents of John the Baptist, who also had similar problems. When John was seen with some disdain, or not John, but Zacharias was seen with some disdain, because he, like Abraham, was without a son, and that was seen as reproach. Now, we don't see it that way anymore, obviously, but that is one of the things that was seen back in those days. That was a sign that God was mad at people. We don't believe that anymore. It's important we remember that. We don't believe that anymore. Okay. All right, so continuing. This is chapter 3. And gazing towards the heavens, she saw a sparrow's nest in the laurel, and made a lamentation for herself, saying, Alas, who begot me, and what womb produced me? Because I have become a curse in the presence of the sons of Israel, and I've been reproached, and they have driven me in derision out of the temple of the Lord. Alas, to what I've been likened. I'm not like the fowls of the heaven, because even the fowls of the heaven, birds, are productive before you, O Lord. Alas, to what have I been likened? I'm not like the beasts of the earth, because even the beasts of the earth are productive before you, O Lord. Alas, to what I've been likened. I'm not like these waters, because even these waters are productive before you, O Lord. Alas, to what have I been likened? I'm not like this earth, because even the earth brings forth its fruits in season and blesses you, O Lord. Yes. So again, reproach, reproach, reproach. Right? And again, like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know. All right, continuing on. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood by, saying, Anna, Anna, the Lord has heard your prayers, and you shall conceive, and you shall bring forth, and your seed shall be spoken of in all the world. And Anna said, As the Lord my God lives, if I beget either male or female, I will bring it as a gift to the Lord my God, and it shall minister to him in holy things all the day of its life. And behold, 2 angels came, saying to her, Behold, Joachim, your husband, is coming with his flocks. For an angel of the Lord went down to him, saying, Joachim, Joachim, the Lord has heard your prayers. Go down hence, for behold, your wife Anna shall conceive. And Joachim went down and called his shepherds, saying, Bring me hither 10 she-lambs, without spot or blemish, and they shall be for the Lord my God. And bring me 12 tender calves, and they shall be for the priests and the elders, and 100 goats for all the people. And behold, Joachim came with his flocks. Anna stood by the gate and saw Joachim coming, and she ran and hung upon his neck, saying, Now I know the Lord God has blessed me exceedingly, for behold, the widow is no longer a widow, and I, the childless, shall conceive. And Joachim rested the first day in his house. Okay, so let me stop there for a second. And there's yet another example of someone who made a, well, for less of a better term, a deal with God about conceiving and having a child. So I want to read that to you. Okay. Make sure I have the right passage here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. This is the book of Samuel from the Old Testament, the very first chapter, very first verse, and continuing. There was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim of the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. He had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Now this man used to go up year by year from his city to worship and to sacrifice to the Lord of hosts at Shiloh, where the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were priests of the Lord. On the day when Elkanah sacrificed, he would give portions to Peninnah, his wife, and to all her sons and daughters. And although he loved Hannah, he would give Hannah only 1 portion, because the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival used to provoke her sorely, to irritate her, because the Lord had closed her womb. So it went on year after year. As often as she went up to the house of the Lord, this woman used to provoke Hannah. Therefore Hannah wept and would not eat. And Elkanah, her husband, would say to her, Hannah, why do you weep? And why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? Am I not more to you than 10 sons? After they had eaten and drunk in Shiloh, Hannah rose. Eli, the priest, was sitting at the seat beside the doorpost of the temple of the Lord. And she was deeply distressed and prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou would indeed look on the affliction of thy maidservant, and remember me, and not forget thy maidservant, but will give to thy maidservant a son, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall touch his head. Oops. Sorry, I had to add somebody. No razor shall touch his head. Hi, Mother. And she continued praying before the Lord, and Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was speaking in her heart, only her lips moved and her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli took her to be a drunken woman. And Eli said to her, How long will you be drunken? Put away your wine from you. But Hannah answered, No, my Lord. I am a woman sorely troubled. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I have been pouring out my soul before the Lord. Do not regard your maidservant as a base woman, for all along I have been speaking out of my great anxiety and vexation. Then Eli answered, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant your petition which you have made to him. And she said, Let your maidservant find favor in your eyes. Then the woman went her way and ate, and her countenance was no longer sad. They rose early in the morning and worshiped before the Lord. Then they went back to their house in Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. And in due time Hannah conceived and bore a son. And she called his name Samuel, for she said, I have asked him of the Lord. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer to the Lord a yearly sacrifice and to pay his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, As soon as the child is weaned, I will bring him, that he may appear in the presence of the Lord and abide there forever. Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Do what seems best to you, wait until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord establish his word. So the woman remained and nursed her son until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up, along with a 3-year-old bull and an ephah of flour and a skin of wine, and she brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. And the child was young. And then they slew the bull, and they brought the child to Eli. And she said, O my Lord, as you live, my Lord, I am a woman who is standing here in your presence, who was standing before in your presence, praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition which I made to him. Therefore, I've lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he is lent to the Lord. And they worshiped the Lord there. Okay, so that, again, is a parallel between the story of Hannah and that she was unable to conceive, but then did have a child, but she had consecrated her child to the Lord. And then we have Joachim and Anna who have done exactly the same thing. Anna made this promise. So Hannah and Anna made the promise that their children would be consecrated to God. Major difference, of course, Samuel is a boy, and the Theotokos, Mary, is a woman, a girl. And not only that, but of course, we know that she's the mother of God. Samuel is the first of the prophets. Are you familiar with Samuel at all? Do you know Samuel from the Old Testament? Samuel is, he's a pretty important figure. So he is one of the prophets. He's the one who anoints both Saul and David to be the kings of Israel. So he's really one of the last of that kind of prophet, the prophets that served as liaisons, if you will, between God and the judges of Israel. And he's the one who helped found the kings of Israel as opposed to the judges of Israel. It's worth reading. There's a lot of stuff in there, and some of it's not very savory, but I mean, it is what it is. Okay, so going back, then we are really talking here about Joachim and Anna, but you can see that they have exactly the same kind of response that Hannah had in her situation, the same kind of response that Zacharias and Elizabeth had in their situation, and the same thing that Abraham and Sarah had to deal with in their situation. Because again, there is this understanding in the Bible that if you are childless, it is a reproach from God, that God is punishing you somehow. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Why are the faces of all of them look so sad? I know most of the icons that we have, the faces seem sad, and this is like a happy situation. You wonder why they're not smiling.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Anna, I think, is upset for the same reason that Hannah was. Hannah didn't want to give up her kid, so she took her time with him. So I think there's a little bit of that. And I think she also has a little bit of foreknowledge. We'll talk about this in many weeks to come when we talk about Christ's presentation to the temple. But there's some words of warning that Simeon, Saint Simeon, the prophet, give to the Mother of God when she presents Christ to the temple, that her heart is going to be pierced. And I think that Anna understands that as Mary's mother, that her journey is not going to be easy. Okay. So I'm not so sure what to make, but also bear in mind that those two, Joachim and Anna have both been through an awful lot. They've been crying a lot. They've been humiliated a lot. They've been harassed by people a lot. Joachim basically lost his standing within the community. They wouldn't even accept his offerings. So they've just been through an awful lot. The attendants, I don't know what to say about them. I think they actually just kind of look like attendants to me. And I'm not sure who that is at the foot. I think if we read on, we may find out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to read, and we'll see who that is at the foot of the cradle there. Okay. All right, so this is now chapter 5. So what we had just done is that Joachim and Anna had just met each other, and they did their sacrifices, and so Joachim rested the first day of his house. On the following day, he brought his offerings, saying in himself, if the Lord God has been rendered gracious to me, the plate on the priest's forehead will make it manifest to me. And Joachim brought his offerings and observed attentively the priest's plate. When he went up to the altar of the Lord, he saw no sin in himself. And Joachim said, now I know that the Lord has been gracious unto me and has remitted all my sins. And he went down from the temple of the Lord justified and departed to his own house. And her months were filled. In the 9th month, Anna brought forth. And she said to the midwife, what have I brought forth? And she said, a girl. And said, Anna, my soul hath been magnified this day. And she laid her down. And the days having been fulfilled, Anna was purified, gave the breast to the child, and called her name Mary. So that's the midwife there at the cradle of the Mother of God. Okay. Right. I think we'll stop there, at least in terms of reading, because I think when we go from that point on, then we're going to be dealing with the presentation of the Mother of God, and I don't want to go there just yet. Okay, so let's look at a couple of other aspects of this icon. Okay. We already had established that we have the Greek here, the birth of the Theotokos, or the beginning of the birth giver of God, or however you want to look at that. That's all pretty much the same thing there. Okay. And yes, we have Zacharias, we have the maid, we have the Mother of God. Now, this is interesting. If you look at her, there are a couple of things here that are interesting. And whenever you have an icon of the Mother of God, these things always are there. The first is, and again, I don't know if you can see what I'm circling, but it's right above the head of the Mother of God. So there are two sets of letters. Okay. This looks like an MP, and this looks like a 0 with a line in the middle, and then a V. Those are actually the Greek letters, the beginning and ending letters for mother. Okay. Mother, and Theon, Mother of God. Okay, so that's literally what that says above her head. And you will see that in just about every icon that portrays her. Okay, and then in addition to that, you notice there are 3 little asterisks around her head. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. 1 at the top of the forehead, and then 2 on her shoulders. Those are also signs that she has all the time. And what does that indicate? I mean, obviously it indicates her. I think it emphasizes her purity, and also her ever virginity, which is of course just part of her purity. Okay, so yes. All right, so what else do we have? Of course, Anna is reclining. She's being attended to by the servants. 3 halos. And where is this being done? Now, this is a telltale sign. You don't see it here. So who knows if this is indoors or outdoors. But Mother Caratina actually taught this to me, that if you look at an icon and you see something that looks like a curtain that connects 2 buildings, then that is meant to indicate that they are indoors. Now, this doesn't have that. So maybe they're in a courtyard of Joachim's and Anna's house or something to that effect. But it appears that they are outside when this is happening. The wall in the back, though, is indicative of, being away from the city, being out further away from the city. Okay, so yes.
Is the writing in Greek in most icons?
No, this is a Greek icon.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll see it's written in Church Slavonic. Sometimes I've actually seen icons written in Arabic.
Okay.
In English, I've seen them written in English also. No, I mean, and honestly, this is actually this is a stylized form of Greek. It's a more modern form. So these letters that I'm circling look like the letter C, right? Well, they're not C's, they're S's. Okay, it's just, if you take a look at the letter S and you cut it off about midpoint, right? You have a letter C, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you look at certain letters in the Greek alphabet, like especially the letter sigma, no, it's not sigma. Well, it's a stylized form. So a lot of times when you do it, let me see if I can bring back my pencil. With 1 second, there we go. Okay, we do this. A lot of times it's like this and then a small little hook at the bottom. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in a different place so we can see it with better contrast. Oops, that's the eraser. It'd be like this. Just like that, okay? So it looks like an S with a very large first half, okay? But that's what then becomes this right here, okay? This letter C, okay? So yes, we have Greek here, we have Slavonic. It can be written in any language, if there's an Italian person who wants to write an icon, they can just write in it, write the captions in Italian. There's no rule one way or the other that says what you can or can't do about that. Okay. What else we got? One of the interesting things about icons is this idea of forced perspective. Okay. If you look kind of carefully, let's do another drawing here. There are 3 major figures in this icon, okay? There's Anna, there's Joachim, and there's the Mother of God, okay? So you have this triangle here, okay? They're the ones with the halos. They're the ones that are, Anna is looking more at Joachim, I think, or maybe a mixture between Joachim and Mary. Joachim is looking at Mary. Mary is looking very adult for a little infant. I just love that. And so you have that message there that there is this bond between the 3 of them. Okay. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is a foretelling. This right here. Look at this for a second. I think this right here is a depiction of the Holy of Holies, which is where she's gonna end up. Okay, that is it's a foretelling, because remember, in the account that I read, she has been consecrated for the temple. She's going to live in the temple. She's going to serve God, however it is seen fit. Okay, so she has been birthed to dwell in the temple, right? Now, we're going to again talk about this at greater detail when we talk about the presentation of the Mother of God in a couple of weeks or so. But it may have been understood, at least by the other attendants around, that meant that she was going to just be a temple assistant, someone to help clean things up, like we can't call them an altar girl, but that's pretty much the idea, that they would make sure that everything is straight and everything's in order and everything's clean. There are always these virginal attendants in the temple that made sure that everything was appropriate and clean and everything, so that the sacrifices would be unimpeded. Okay, but that's not her mission. That's not where she's heading. She's heading for the Holy of Holies. She's heading for a place that even the high priest can't go to but once a year. Okay, she's there by herself. And I hearkened back, and I'm mixing things up now, but when Joachim was out in the wilderness, he said that prayer was going to be his food and water. Well, the Mother of God, when she lived in the temple, she didn't eat, she didn't drink, she was attended to by angels. So that is one of the signs of a particular style of prayer within the Orthodox Church. It's called hesychasm. It's a practice of stillness. And when you achieve it in perfection, and honestly, very few people in our lives do that, and me as a priest who's got one foot in heavenly things and one foot in earthly things, and the rest of us lay people and so forth, it's very unlikely that we would ever attain that kind of life. But were we to attain that kind of life where we were in constant communion with God, likewise, we would not need food or water. Okay, Christ's another example. In his time in the wilderness, he didn't need food or water because prayer was his food. So this is all part of the same message, that Joachim, while he was out in the wilderness, needed no food but just prayed. Mary, when she's in the Holy of Holies, will do exactly the same thing. So in a sense, like father, like daughter. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of cool. All right, so what else we got? Like I said, this is down here. Let me bring my stuff back.
Father, what about the windows on her crib?
These right here?
Yeah.
That's a good question too. The whole thing, including this, really looks like a building, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think that's exactly what it's meant to convey. Okay, let me see. Give me 1 second. I have a theory, but I want to make sure I'm right. Oops. Okay. Oh. Okay, so yeah, this is on my phone, so but see, this is a depiction of the temple. Okay? And you see how there is a section at the top, that's the Holy of Holies. That is a place where only the high priests go, and that's where Mary went when she was put in, into the temple. We'll get to that again at her presentation. Okay? So what you're seeing there, and it's a great question, Mary, what she's laying in is the temple. Okay? It's a depiction of the temple. All right? So that's what that is, that image right there that we see. So this is the Holy of Holies up here over by her head. And then this is meant to be the courtyard of the temple right here. Okay. So it's an iconographic representation of what is to come. It's a good question. That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she is going to be completely consecrated to the temple. They will, and that's another reason why they're sad. I mean, it's hard for us to imagine. In fact, I mean, what would happen if you made a deal like that? You said, okay, God, if you let me have a kid, I'm going to give him up to God. Okay?
That's true.
I mean, especially in this day and age, if you have difficulties having a child, you're not going to be ready to say, okay, well, you can go ahead and take her or him.
Yeah.
You're not going to say that. You're going to say, no, I want to keep her.
Well, I think as a whole, most of the icons in the church sort of have a sad look.
Well, life is hard. Life is hard.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of that kind of thing in there. I mean, well, we'll take a look at some of the others and see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's always an understanding that we need to be delivered, that we need God's help. And so I think there is a lot of that kind of sadness. Another thing though to be kind of careful about though is that a lot of times when you have when someone is writing an icon, I let me see if I have one here. Well, I don't think any of the ones I have here are particularly depicted in the way that I was hoping to. But when you look at a lot of icons, the iconographer is going to have to depend on something for their source. Okay. And a lot of times the source is a model, someone to stand there for them so that they can depict that. Now, if you look at the 4 attendants in this particular icon, their faces look almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, even the person, the midwife hanging out at the bottom there, still that, I mean, her hair is straight compared to the curly hair of the other 3, but the face itself has that same kind of look. That could be, honestly, a lot of times when they're looking at faces, they use a mirror. If you go to the Antiochian village and you take a look at the iconography of Philip Zimmerman, you can tell, I mean, all you have to do is just look at the icon and you can pretty much guess what Philip Zimmerman looks like. And the same goes with other iconographers. Nick Pappas is another example. A lot of Nick Pappas's icons look a lot like Nick Pappas. And there's really nothing wrong with that, because we're all made in God's image. And so, that's the important thing. So, yeah. So that's it. That's kind of, so it may be that we're looking at the iconographer. Maybe we're looking at a model the iconographer was using to do the depictions. It could be any number of those things. Okay, so what else can we look at in this icon?
Do the items on the tray symbolize anything?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I really don't know. Probably just that she needed to be refreshed.
Yeah.
But there's, almost an immediate reference to Mary being breastfed. So I don't think that's that. I think that's something else. I think that's just refreshing poor Anna after her giving birth.
Yeah.
Mary, did you have a question?
I was going to ask the very same thing.
Oh,
We're-
look at that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean,
Nice to hear your voice, Mary.
Nice to see.
one of the things that is important to note is that there are very few incidental things in an icon. You know, a lot of times there's a very intentional reason for them being there. In this case, I don't see anything in the Proto-Evangelion that would point out what that is. But you know, all the same, you know, since there's one glass but two vials, really not sure what that's meant to indicate. Yeah, really don't know. I can look it up. I'll let you know if I find out anything. Okay. Well, actually, why don't I do it right now? Give me 1 second. Nope, don't want that. Are there other questions while I'm looking that up?
Father, what about the, are those angels' wings that the crib is sitting on?
Yeah, that's another good catch, I think. I think it's exactly the same thing that I was talking about before. When she is in the Holy of Holies, she's ministered to by angels. Okay? So you may be right on something there. If you take a look at a picture of a seraph, you will see that you see their faces, but that they have 6 sets of wings. Okay? So what you may be seeing there are just angels that are supporting her, because that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to be supporting her in the temple. So it may just be another foretaste of that. Okay. Let me see. So I'm looking at a description of the icon, and one of the things it does say is that they're trying to depict that they are in a courtyard of an opulent house. Okay, so that's a good call there, that she is giving birth in this opulent house because he was wealthy, because Joachim was wealthy. Okay. I don't know if there's anything else really.
It's odd that there's that patch on the blanket. That's kind of odd.
Do you mean this thing right here?
Yeah, it like
That's-
looks out of place.
That's actually something that
Pillow? It looks like a
is,
pillow.
yeah, it's I think it's actually, I think there's like a stem here that's being held by the midwife here.
Oh, I
So
see.
I think that's something different. I don't know if that's meant to be the curtain. I'm not really sure. Let me see. Just give me 1 more second here.
That little pillow. Well, we don't know exactly if it's a pillow or not.
Yeah, I actually think that's another thing that's connected to the temple.
She's in what's to come, like in a temple with the windows
Mhm,
on there.
Yeah, I think that might be even the temple veil. Okay, because like I really think this is exactly what this is. This is the temple courtyard that she's lying in. So it's meant to be that she's going to be consecrated into the temple when she is consecrated. And then this here is the Holy of Holies at her head. And this, I think, is meant to be a veil. You just can't put it there. But it's meant to be that veil between the temple and the Holy of Holies. I think that's what that is. And I do think this is right too. It just looks too much like angel's wings. So I'm thinking this is the head of the angel here, and this is the wing here, and it's just meant to indicate that she's going to be provided for, you know, in this sense, kind of like supported or lifted up.
Wings.
But when she is spending her time in the Holy of Holies, she's going to be nourished and supported by the angels. Okay, so I think that's exactly what this is meant to indicate. Okay, so this is indeed a midwife right here. These are attendants to Anna. and there's really nothing except to indicate that there are servants, and that, you know, I mean, think about the difference in this nativity scene and the nativity of Christ. Okay, because the nativity of Christ is in a cave in the wilderness. There's a lot of uncertainty, except there's also a lot of beauty. So this is meant to almost be the exact opposite. You know, she's not born in a cave. She's born in a nice mansion kind of a place. Okay, so she's got a very different start to life than Christ did. Okay. Yep. Okay, other questions about anything? All right. How about the format? Are you happy with the format?
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice.
Good. Okay. All right. Well, let's call it a night here. Okay. Next week we're gonna look at the second one. Do you want to guess what that one is? What's the second feast that we celebrate in the Orthodox calendar?
What's this?
I'll give you a hint. It has nothing. Well, it doesn't really have anything to do with the life of Mary. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. So the nativity, when's the nativity of the Mother of God? Do you know what date that is? September 8th.
Oh,
Okay, it's September 8th. And so the next feast is the exaltation of the cross. And that happens on the 14th of September. Okay, so we have her nativity on the 8th, and then we have the exaltation or the elevation of the cross on the 14th. All right, so that'll be the next one that we remember. It's the one that's next on the wall in the church. Okay, do we have any other questions? Anyone want to ask anything before we go?
that's good.
Okay, well, God bless you. Thank you very much for coming tonight. I appreciate it. Invite your friends.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And we'll get together again this time next week, okay?
Okay.
All right, God bless you. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody.